easy for me to make that, but I didn't know where I was going to live next. And the reality was that I'd come out of a fairly extensive illness. I used a lot of my savings to live that year and a half or two, and I didn't know how I was going to find someone to rent to me. And so it was kind of miraculous when she came running after me that night and said, "Anne, why don't you consider living with me?" And I was initially horrified. Like, what has my life become that I'm going to live in somebody's bedroom? And I remember the first time I went to see the apartment, I left there crying because I thought, oh my God, you know, I was sick, I had cancer, I don't have a lot of money, and I'm going to live in somebody's bedroom. And she was so sweet. She said, just think about it. And I said, it's a lovely apartment, but I have to keep looking. And shortly thereafter...
You know, I've imagined that myself. There's some female movie stars that I've imagined what it would be like if I lived in their bedroom.
Yeah.
But
as we have all done, although for me it's
that's
not about
right.
female.
That's what it's all about. Movies create idols.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But this is reality.
This is reality.
So you were between a rock and a hard place.
I needed a place.
Based on your description.
Yes, I needed a place to live, or else I probably would have moved back to Texas because I didn't know how I would stay here. I knew I didn't want to live, you know, in the Bronx in a walk-up apartment, you know, that I could afford. I had to find some solution, and it was miraculous the way it came. So, like she said, sometimes there's something that's meant to be, and we have never regretted it for a nanosecond.
So
it's 2 years now.
It's great encouragement to other people that are considering the same kind of move.
Yes.
And it's obviously worked very well for both of you.
I would say it's a wonderful thing for people to really think about, because particularly as we get older, we have a tendency to isolate ourselves more and more. Winter comes up and you don't, I don't really want to go out, it's too cold, it's too dark, and we have all our excuses.
I would think that would particularly be the case in locations outside of New York City, in multifamily living in the suburbs or other municipalities, Miami Beach and other places where it's not as easy as in Manhattan, where you are to go out your door and pick up a container of milk or go to the store or get a cup of coffee somewhere easily. It's, you know, Manhattan in particular and parts of New York City are 24-hour neighborhoods in many ways.
That's definitely true. But you can be as alone sitting in a coffee shop in the middle of the night by yourself as you can be if you're living up in the Hudson Valley, for instance, where I have my house, on a country road, and you don't have access to other people at either coffee shops.
That's really true. One of the things I had to practice when I moved here, because I'd been married forever and I got a divorce, was living in Austin, Texas. And Austin is not the kind
Usually
of
they say that, the people that have been on the program who left relationships behind, that they felt like it was forever until they made the break. So.
So yeah, right.
Right.
And it's interesting that many of the women were married to the same man.
That's an interesting
That is very
dynamic, too.
Yes, I mean they call him by his name.
Forever.
Forever.
No, that son of a bitch.
I didn't say that.
No, I didn't say you did.
This is internet radio.
So when I moved up here, I had to learn how to really be on my own. I mean, I was on my own in Austin for 3.5 years, but that was different. You didn't just walk into coffee shops. You didn't just go out and maybe find a bar stool to sit on and have a glass of wine. And I was afraid of that. I didn't know how to sit and have a glass of wine in a bar. I mean, I remember the first time I did that, I was shaken like a leaf just to go in and sit down someplace and have a glass of wine.
Well, there are courses for that in New York City. There's a course for everything.
Really?
Is that because of the different moray in Austin?
I don't know.
As opposed to New York City? Like, New York City's been a very open place since the beginning of the city.
Right.
All the way
right.
back to 1624.
I think it has to do with the fact that you have cars. You don't just get on foot. If you're going to get in a car and drive to a bar to have a glass of wine, that feels really kind of slutty. That feels really kind of weird.
I have a question
to do
for
that.
Anthony. When you were sitting in a bar in 1624, what type of drinks?
Oh, we mostly had Dutch ale.
Dutch ale.
Yeah.
And how did that
Of course,
fit
I was a kid then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was weird to say, oh, I've been in an apartment all day. I can just walk across the street and I'll just walk in and I'll see how it feels to sit down and have a drink. And I was shaking, but I did that. And I was lonely because I was sitting around a bar where everybody was talking to each other and I didn't know what to say, or I mean, it was
You know, it's
awkward.
interesting that you should say that in terms of making an adjustment. because New York City has always been a magnet, cultural magnet, an opportunity magnet, a place for curiosity seekers, a place to escape to. And the story that was written about Anne Fry and Dina Wilcox has a lot to do with two people creating a synergy where they both feel comfortable, they both feel at home, feel healthier because they're living together but separate lives, and it applies at any age. So if there's a young person in their 20s or somebody in their 30s or whatever the age group is, making a match or finding the right, we don't say partner because that connotes a relationship,
Right.
we say flatmate.
We say flatmates.
Flatmate. Someone to share a flat, which is the London term for
Well,
apartment.
it's also, we're not roommates because we're not
Right.
sharing the same bedroom. And
Right.
so we wanted to distinguish ourselves in that way. And
Mhm.
apartment mates really became too cumbersome, so flatmates just work better.
And Senior Flatmates was available as a domain.
That was the other thing.
There we go.
Right.
Well, right now I want to take a musical interlude, so I'm going to ask our engineer, RJ, our great engineer RJ, who has been with us for, well, I don't know how many broadcasts, doing a great job. RJ, I want you to play track number 2. I dedicate this song to several friends of mine, to Amy Duggar, who is currently in West Virginia, and Allison Scola,